second Tuesday of every month. And it's really, really exciting when we have to bring in one more conference at the end of the year to wrap it up strong and share and get experts from our communities, doctors, we have teachers, we have educators, counselors, nurse practitioners, doctors in education, doctors in pharmacy. So we are super excited. Again, welcome. This moment, I want to hand the mic over to Come Now to open us with a word of prayer, and then we'll hand over to Reverend Wamboy for a disclaimer, and then we'll dive into our speakers for the day. Hey, come on, have a seat, share the flyer, invite somebody. Come on, let's learn, get equipped, and let's make sure that we are aware and take off the stigma that continues to empower and attach itself to our community. But we're trying to clear our minds off, learn something new. Our biggest ask is, as you learn and get tools, let's deploy, let's employ them, let's make action when you get back to our communities and homes. All right, over to you. Come Now. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for so many years of protecting us, giving us this opportunity to have this serious conversation about mental health and how we can be better husband, better wives, better family, better uncle, better brother, better sister, our grandma, grandpa. Father, we thank you because you are great. Thank you for this opportunity. We're going to continue with you. We love you. We thank you for the leadership of MHstars. We thank you for our speakers and people coming through. Bless them, bless them, bless them. Bless the work of their hands, oh Lord. They are giving themselves for the service. And because of that is a blessing. We love you. We lift up your name. And it's in Jesus' name I pray and believe. Amen and amen. Reverend Wamboy, God bless you and welcome.
Thank you very much. And sometimes I start with short stories. You will forget what we learned, but you never forget the short stories. Essentially, I was raised by a mom who was a working mom and a nurse, or rather, she worked in the clinics and in the hospitals most of her life. When I close my eyes, I can see my mother in her uniform. And it's a long time ago when they used to wear a cape over here. She's among the first, let's just say 10 or so women who chose the hardest career. I want you to know that in Kenya, during the British colonial rule, we were all born as British subjects. Yeah, no birth certificate, no marriage certificate was there actually, but there was no death certificate. And so my mother, when she came to visit in the United States of America, I commended her and I say, Mom, you were born before your time. Basically in Kenya, when I write about my mom, we had 3 careers for women. The best career that everybody in the village loved is being a wife, is being married, priority. Okay, you all get it? Number 2, the best career any woman could have is being a teacher. And it was very hard when you are single. And supposing you get pregnant, and we did not have family planning those days. This is my mother's story. You cannot be a teacher because they are going to say you are a poor role model. Number 3, my mother chose the hardest career. She decided she wanted to study nursing and midwifery. But remember, and at the beginning of time, my mother was the best educator. Let me just give you 3 words that my mom taught me before I could write, read, or go to school. My sister, if you're there, you might witness. I don't know what you remember about our mom. I have my sister, but I'm not going to say her name. Just know I have a sibling, a biological sibling right here. One of the words my mother taught me is called etiology. What is that? And then she talked about making rounds. I'm not even going to nursery school. Big words. because that's what she did. So, Mom, what is etiology? She told me it's the history of a disease. And I'm like, you mean diseases have histories? Well, that's my mom. So I was raised by a nurse, and I don't have problems with vaccinations, although I'm not a very cooperative. I'm not a very cooperative patient because I ask a lot of questions. Yep. Doctors, they don't know what to do with me. Finally, when I completed graduate studies, so when I go to the hospital or a clinic, I meet somebody and they are treating me, I ask many questions. My doctor one time said, don't keep asking questions. You are reading too much. I say, okay, I'll try. I love to read. The other person who raised me is my dad. He loved to read. If you challenge me, I can ask you, did you read the article? And I have learned many people are not reading. Even today, somebody gave me high five. Was not something to give high five for. That is something you should cry an emoji about. Okay? I'm just saying. So I learned, but my father was a disciplinarian, meaning if you did that was not right, my mom would say, just wait until your dad comes home. So I have this wonderful reverence of being raised by a father who was also had a background in military. So if he says jump, you don't say no or yes, you say how high. The last thing I'm going to say, then I read you a disclaimer. I'm looking at the clock. He told us, okay, we were driven to school. We were privileged, and thank God for that. They were able to do that. My dad also worked, and so he would drive us to school. And he had rules like, if you are not in the car 10 minutes before we leave, we have just left you. Do you know he left me one time? And I have to walk like 3 miles to the road to 87 to catch a bus, and all the buses had gone. I showed up in school. I must go to school. I am in uniform. I showed up in school at 11 a.m. The teacher then made me stand up for another hour. And this is what my teacher, Mrs. Desai, said to me. Be in class all the time and on time, because whatever you put in your mind, nobody will rob you. You can take it with you wherever you go. To this day, I probably is one of the people who always use the word etiology. Credit to my mother. Here is our disclaimer. I'm going to make it short now. Suggestions made here by our speakers and the audiences and ourselves, including if you're 18 years and older, male or female, regardless of your religious affiliation, are never a diagnostic impression. They are never a substitute for treatment or follow-up activities that are required and consented to by your doctor, your psychiatrist, your therapist, your mental health provider or counselor. And the reason I say that, they always called my mom doctor, but she wasn't a doctor. But because they recognized the white coat that she was wearing, the stethoscope that she hung on her neck. So it's very important that we recognize our professionals, no matter their credentials, because they are providing a very vital service. One thing that is characteristic of this program, and you have it a little bit, is to provide resources nationwide in the United States of America. But we have not failed in mental health stars, because whenever somebody has requested help, I have had somebody request help from anywhere in the world, but especially United States and Kenya, we have not failed in connecting an individual with therapeutic or therapy or counseling, or even if you need a preacher. I give referral to preachers, by the way, to churches if you have fallen out. So here you are, and we welcome you. Thank you. We have welcome Dr. Hemi. He's going to share with us. My sister. Thank you, Reverend Kamnau. Thank you, Mr. Kevin. And our speaker is ready. And this is Mrs. Lydia Wajao, and she's a licensed marriage and family therapist. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Zio. And if I have missed anyone, we'll do that as we go on. Now, I just want to say that God works for the good of those who love him. And here we are. Welcome. Do we welcome Sister Lydia this time? We have a commercial. Either before, let's do the commercial. I think we need to have a commercial because I just learned she's also a prophetess. Yep. If you need some prophecy, she might prophesy. This is serious. And we have Grateful Daughter coming on. Thank you. We're going to have a commercial because our presenter is getting ready to go to mission field in India. Wow. And it's a healing conference. Imagine this, interdenominational, 4 days of interdenominational healing conference is right here. By the way, caveat, English is I have 3 languages, and English is one, Kikuyu is another one, Kiswahili is one, and yet I'm trying to learn en español, hablo español poquito. Thank you. Gracias. Let's welcome our speaker, from the great state of California. California is a nation state. It is ranked, I think, 6th or 7th in its wealth, even higher than a nation like Japan. So let me say this. It is also the capital of art and entertainment. Mark this in sociology and in your life. If ever something is adopted in California, the arts and center of our influence in the United States of America, then notice if it takes place in New York, our capital of economy and money, the New York Stock Exchange. Then finally, it might actually happen in Washington, D.C., the capital where our laws are made, the capital of the United States of America. You can take my word to the bank. Whatever happens to California, whatever happens to New York, whatever happens to Washington, D.C., and now Texas is taking place because of Elon Musk, it shall find its way in your home and mine, and also in all over the United States of America. This is a powerful nation. God bless the USA, and God bless the woman of God from California. Welcome. I love California though, so I have to give that.
Thank you, Reverend Waboi Joroge, for that wonderful introduction. I feel honored and I'm very grateful being with people of the same mind. And we are here to help ourselves and also to help other people. As you are introduced, my name is Lydia Wanjao. I live in California, Northern California. California is a very big state. There is the South and the North. And I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And today I will be talking about trauma. And even before I go to the subject of today, I also want to say that I don't have anything to put there on the screen. I'll talk, and I'll make it short because there is so much I can talk about trauma, because I am also a trauma therapist, and that is the work I do every day. As we think about mental health and trauma being a component of mental health disorder or issue or a problem or a condition, the one most thing that we must be aware about mental health is that if we don't address it, what happens is we lose our meaning and purpose in life. And that is the most dangerous thing that can happen to a human being. When you wake up every morning, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you are a doctor, a therapist like me, I do psychotherapy, whether you are the pastor, the reverend, we can do all that and lose purpose and meaning. So, as we present our cases here, let us know that in whatever calling you are in whatever vocation you are in, when we wake up every morning, we need to get our purpose. Because when we know our purpose, then we have a meaning in life. As I go now to describe my topic for today, I'll just give a 1-minute history about myself. I started as a human resource. I was born in Kenya. I liked my job. I liked the big offices, and I rose within a very short time. But at the end of the career as a human resource, I started feeling like I have a more deeper purpose. And that's why I'm talking about purpose. And because I am one stubborn person, it takes time for me to move. Maybe I'll need a big tractor to move me from one place to another. I went through a very kind of shift in my life. And that is when I started seeing like my purpose was not in those big offices, but being with people, those who are struggling and those who are disadvantaged. And I had to go back to school to become now a therapist. And on top of that, as you saw that commercial there, I'm now in the mission field. It has taken me more than 15 years to agree that I can be in the mission field, going to India. Like this year, I was in, what is it called? Nepal, India. And now, next week on Monday, I'll be in Kenya. And the reason why I'm bringing all this is that if we miss our purpose in life, we may have all the things that we need, but deep inside us, we are not fulfilled. So now I am there in the mission field, And it's not something I wanted to do because it is difficult to go to countries. You don't know people, you don't even have the necessary resources or the connections, but that is what I am doing. And right now, I can tell you, audience, that I just feel fulfilled. It doesn't matter how big the problem is. I can do it, I can persist because now I am in the right place. Maybe for those who know God, we can talk about being directed by God. So, as I talk about trauma, it is a subject that is deep in my heart because I am an immigrant. And I don't know who is this immigrant who can say that they have not experienced trauma. Moving from your country, I don't care why you came here, you have to do a lot of adjustments, or even moving to any country from where you were born. So the experience is very traumatic. The problem we have, and especially people from, I can talk about my country, Kenya, because I am one of them. I am a life example. It takes a very, like you have to go through a process for you to accept that you have a problem. So as I talk about trauma, one of the greatest coping that we can do is to accept that all of us, we have gone through some experiences in life, and it has left us with feelings of horror, fear, anger, helplessness, and actually that is the definition of trauma. From the DSM, which is the diagnostic criteria of mental health disorders. And as I do trauma every day, I have recognized that even here for people who are here, because I have my own private practice as a psychotherapist, the people who come, whether they are black, white, brown, whatever color they have trauma. And the records show that here in the US, 2/3 of the population have what I'm going to explain as I talk about trauma, something called adverse childhood experience. That means that when you are growing up, between the 0 age and age 17, when you are a minor, you went through some challenges. And I'm talking about people from here. You went through some stress, which is toxic, maybe through your mom, your dad, your uncle, your caregiver, whoever it was that was mentoring or guiding you, or the schools you went to, the church you went to, whoever was there to role model you, there was some toxicity that caused stress. And it is called ACE, Adverse Childhood Experience. It is caused by toxic stress. And what it does, it damages a child, and I'm talking from a newborn child to 17 years. It damages the developmental stage, because, at every stage in our development, there are some hormones, there are chemicals in the brain, the pituitary gland. I'm sorry, sometimes because I am a Kikuyu from Nyeri, I am not able to say some of these big words. So the brain gets impacted. And when that happens, if that is not addressed early enough, it can cause this toxicity, the trauma that we go through even when we are young. It can cause what we call chronic diseases. And I'm talking about diseases that just pop up, like having migraine headaches, stomach distresses, acidity, and even more chronic diseases like high blood pressure, cholesterol, name it. So it is very important for us, especially those who are immigrants, to know that there are some things we can do that can help us so that we can cope better, especially with the environment. And even for now, politically here, we cannot mention a lot of things because there is fear all over. And trauma itself is fear. Most of it is fear. And it is fear that causes horror. You feel angry. And trauma also is anxiety. It is fear that is decoded as anxiety. And when we go through a lot of fear, like now, we know, all of you know what I'm talking about. It is constant. If we don't address this fear in healthy ways, if we don't channel this fear, it can turn out to be a trauma because it is anxiety, and every day we are thinking, what is going to happen to me, to my job, to my kids? And we get addicted to overthinking. And then we find that when we go to bed, we are still thinking about so many things altogether. So that is what trauma is. And it can start from a very early age, from when we are born, depending on some examples is abuse, neglect. If you are coming from a family where there was separation or divorce, mental health issues, somebody maybe committed suicide, some losses happened, like family members died, and it was not addressed. That is what we call toxic stress. In my case, for example, when I was very young, I think I was 5 or 6 years old, I saw my mom come home crying. And you know those days, I don't know about your household, my mom was this disciplinarian, and my dad was normally not home most of the time. So I tried to ask my older brother, why is mom crying? And then my older brother jokingly told me that my uncle has been stabbed and killed. And then he was telling me that, you know, when now that uncle was killed, he was cut off. And it was pure exaggeration because he was a teenager. He was cut off the head, and then it went on talking and saying, whoever killed me will not have any peace. I'm telling you, I got so traumatized. And anything to do with death, I didn't want to face any issue to do with death. So that is a form of trauma, because mom came, okay, later I knew it's my uncle who died, and actually he was killed by somebody, but it caused a lot of horror to me, fear. And from there, anything to do with death was like, Ross, don't tell me about death. So even losses in the family, we are not processing. We are not telling our kids or our grandkids, so and so died. It is normal. People die. We just keep quiet. It can cause the toxic stress. That's just an example from my part. Trauma is a wound, because when it happens, it causes like, it's a bruise, it's a wound, and it is very, very painful to clean a wound. It can be emotional, it can be physical. You can have a car accident and you get traumatized. You don't even want to talk about it. And it can also be emotional, it can be environmental, it can be cultural, like some cultural practices that are done somewhere, even in Kenya. So what happens is that when we go through all that, we adapt. And how we adapt is that we get to the point where we have no balance. When somebody talks about a traumatic event, we shut down, or we defend ourselves, we freeze, or we just want to escape. And these are all negative coping experiences. So what we need to do from now is to start accepting that there are things that we need to address. And as I told you, and even in the rooms where I have therapy, it takes even a long time for somebody to disclose, especially a sexual trauma, because it causes what we call flashbacks. It causes hypervigilance. These are some of the things that happen when we go through trauma. We avoid, they are the nightmares, the flashbacks after the event, the arousal, problems with the relationships. And because it is kind of an anxiety disorder, it becomes a pattern, and the pattern can perpetuate in families, even for generations, if it is not addressed. So the symptoms need to be addressed early. The good thing, me as a trauma therapist, I can tell you all, it is possible to heal from trauma. It is possible to heal from anxiety, from depression, and from all these mental health conditions that we feel like we don't even want to talk about them. Of course, when I'm talking about trauma, one of the problems that occurs is you want to avoid, you don't want to talk about it. So with trauma, you need very good support, and you need a trained professional to get over those problems, because if we don't, then we continue with the problems. I was talking about the physical problems, the mental health problems, which also will include sleep problems, because we are addicted to thinking, we are depressed, we don't sleep at night, then it becomes a problem. There is so much to cover. I even don't know how much time I have. But the good thing is it is possible to heal. There's wood. We can dress it. We can remove whatever it is. We can clean the wood and we can become better. I have several people I have walked through very serious trauma, and now they have gone back to work. They are doing better because they were able to face their fears and they talked about it. The disorder, which we call PTSD, because that's what it is called, post-traumatic stress disorder, it is very recent, even in the DSM, because it was done, it was included in 1980 when people went to war-torn countries, they came back, they were told that they were crazy, they were mad, and then they started killing themselves every day. Then that's when the problem, now it's like, wow, there is a problem here, what can we do? So it is very recent, 1980 is the other day. So there is so much that we have to unpack. But as we come now to how to deal with trauma, I'm going to talk about the several ways that you can heal and regulate your emotions. First of all, we need to know whether it is depression or anxiety. It is all based on fear. These fears are not rational, they are irrational, they are distorted. So we need to separate thoughts from feelings, called the theory of ABC. That is my best approach to both depression and anxiety. It helps people.
I want to just interrupt a little bit to say that you have 5 minutes left and 5 minutes to answer questions.
Okay.
We encourage our audience, please post your questions in the chat because our next presenter is actually joining us from Kuwait. So it's a very different time zone. So he probably woke up, but we thank God. And we also have people who have joined us. Thank you, Professor Joe Joroge. That's my husband. When you see he opened his audio next time. Thank you so much. I'm listening. I did not know that Kenyans have trauma from their childhood. I thought it was normal to be whooped and all kinds of things.
So thank you for letting me know. I have 5 minutes, so I'm now going through what you can do with all these problems. We have EMDR. It is a therapy where the brain is rewired. We also have something called neurofeedback. It is also there. We are trained in that. We do CBT. We need supportive environments. And we also need to accept that we have problems. And in everything, we have to not be self-critical. Let us not blame ourselves or bring shame. Let us release that. And there is help out there. I think with that, what I can say, I can talk about resources now. You can get people like therapists who are trained on psychologytoday.com. For me, I have a website called Hope Arise Therapy. I also do something called psychosocial evaluations. These are for people who are here and they need help. They have cases with the immigration. I work with lawyers and to do asylum evaluations. We do the U visa hardship waiver, cancellation of removal, the T visa, all that we do. And when there is a mental health perception, The judges normally listen because we talk about trauma and how it's sometimes, if like it is a case of hardship, you are being told to go back to your country. Where do you even start? So we write, it's about 15-minute page to convince the judge that this person needs not to be deported. If it is domestic violence, we also do it. So all those resources are there. And much of what we do with that is that we get your trauma history from the time you can recall or remember. Thank you so much. And again, Reverend Waboy, I'm grateful. I feel honored to be part of this great team.
Oh, we want to clap for her. Send a good emoji, because this is the third time I believe that our licensed marriage therapist has come to address us. And now I'm getting so excited when you talked about psychosocial assessment, that you work with attorneys for immigration. I feel like we need another session, like a whole hour. But for now, do we have a question? Remember, we have five minutes for answers. Do we have a question that is posted for our marriage therapist? And thank you, everybody's doing good. If you think about it, post it. Now, because we want to switch a little bit, breathe in again, like we said, and breathe out. That was too short. I didn't even see anybody open their mouth. This is not good for this class. Okay, let's do this together. If you can open your audio, please participate. It is wonderful. You're giving us good feedback. You are going to feel the impact. Breathe in 3 times like this and hold it for 5 seconds. You know what is 5 seconds? When you stop your car at a stop sign, you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is 5 seconds. That will add up. And actually, you can go to court if you're speeding and said you stopped. They are tricky because many people don't know. But for us who drive children, we have to know. Ready? 1. Breathe in. Karen running here now. Breathe in again. And breathe out. Even make the noise with your mouth, you relax 3 times. Breathe in. Did you see actually my diaphragm is raising up with me? Hallelujah. Say, I want to look at this video for yourself, because you have done a good thing. We do this in church, but we are not in church. We can do it here. This is it. You raise your hand up high. You can feel it. And then you put it back on your back like this. Hold it for 1 second or 2, 3. And you say, God has smiled on me. Do the other hand the same. Raise your hand as high as you can, as high as your dreams are, aspirations and purposes. Our therapist has talked about our purposes. Raise your hand. Put it down. You can, if you can touch on the other side, that will be good. You can even feel it stretch. And hold it. 1, 2, 3. Raise up your hand and say, God has smiled on me. And you can do like this if you're a Kenyan. Because that's true. God is happy with you when you come to this platform. It's good. Although we talk about sensitive issues, it releases us to learn and to get help. Can you just appreciate our speaker, Lydia Wanjau from the nation state of California? Okay. Now, hey, thank you. Grateful daughter, I love your emojis. My goodness, they travel from the dashboard here all the way. Thank you, come now. We appreciate that. Now, let us see, even as a presenter is smiling. Dr. Hemi is a serious man. He's smiling. He's also a pastor. So at the end, we may ask him to actually pray. We may need to pray for prayer requests. We want to welcome none other but Dr. Geoffrey Heme, and his wife's name is Margaret. And I love both of them. They are wonderful. And we were going to give you this time to do your presentation, and you have questions or answers, and we'll try to see if you have maybe a few minutes, 10, 15, to have chai, tea, and coffee. That is when we are free, not on YouTube, and you can ask even our sensitive questions. Thank you, audience on YouTube. You will watch this many years from now, and you will appreciate it as much as we do. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Reverend Wambui. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate and thank you, Lydia. That was a very good topic. I almost commented on what happened to me when I came to America the first time. I had trauma. I just was told by somebody, go there and order some food. And I went to McDonald's, and instead of going to order where it's supposed to be, I walked on a drive-through. And they closed the window and they called the policeman on me. This man, maybe they thought I want to steal something. I didn't know that I'm not supposed to walk on a drive-through. So that was very traumatic. It was my first day in America. So I know what you're talking about. So thank you so much. My name is Dr. Heme, or Geoffrey Heme, and I've been a college professor in Texas for a period of time. I've been teaching nurses, and I've been teaching labor and delivery and mental health for many, many years. And in Kenya, I used also to practice in Bagabi Hospital, and I had my private clinic. So right now, I'm almost a retired man. Where I am right now, I'm in Kuwait. I'm visiting with my family, my son, but I live in Oregon. Now, today we are going to talk about, we are still on the topic of saying no to depression, and I like this so much. There's so many people who are depressed that don't talk about it. And today we shall be talking about normalizing conversation about sex and intimacy. One of the greatest problems that we have about conversation of sex and intimacy was actually, for the Kenyans, it was started by our parents. And not just our parents, but our cultures. Back home, when we were growing up, we could not even mention sex, the word. We could not even mention the parts, the human, parts. And for example, right now, if I tell Reverend Wambui Njoroge, please, can you tell us what is a vagina in Kikuyu language? Can you say it? Look, she would not do it. Why? That came from the parents, right?
My husband is here right now.
See? So,
Dr.
Heme, I'm here online. I think it will be very difficult for her to say that.
maybe you can say it on her behalf.
I don't know whether I'm that courageous to say it in Kikuyu. It sounds
there you are.
That's a tricky question. I think this is where the instructor, the doctor, ask a question about some areas, and you don't answer. You let the teachers answer. I'm just saying.
So that is one of the problems that we have, because when we were growing up, our parents told us that is evil. In my mother tongue, they used to say waganu, which is like wickedness. You cannot say it. You cannot mention doing it. You cannot mention that one. Now, that has grown up with us. Even today, You have a wife or a husband who would want to talk about, they cannot even talk about it in your mother tongue. And most of the times we have to fake some words, we have to use some names to talk about. And well, we have accepted it right now because we don't have any other way. If you want to call it 1, 2, 3, that is, we allow you to call it. Because we can no longer, we cannot mention those words, but we need to start opening up a little bit so that we can talk about this. Now, if I can describe, I can say sex has a multiple definition, or it has multiple definitions. Most commonly, it's referred to a person's biological characteristic. When you talk about sex, we're talking about a male, a female, or intersex. And the physical act of sexual intercourse is also sex. It can also describe the biological processes related to reproduction and sexuality. Now, sexuality is actually the capacity for sexual feelings. That is what we call sexuality. Now, what sexual intimacy is a combination of emotional closeness and the physical act of sex, and it's built on foundation of trust and vulnerability. What I'm trying to say is, in order for you to have emotional closeness, in order for you to have a physical act of sex, we should have trust in the person we are talking to or in the person we are doing it with. And in order for me to be vulnerable to you, I need to trust you. So when we are like couples, we have to do things that will make us vulnerable to each other. Now, sexual needs and desires are an essential part of any romantic relationship. And yet it tends to be like a topic that couples often struggle to even mention or talk about. And this is where now the problem is coming in, where we are having a lot of struggle in discussing sex. So, conversations about sex seem to be heavily avoided, which causes some misunderstandings, and that also causes some unmet sexual needs, just because we cannot have a conversation about it. Now, learning to talk about these needs can actually enhance intimacy within a relationship. If we just open ourselves and start talking about it, it can really help. And we say in English that a problem shared is a problem halved, right? We've talked about that many times. Now, why is it so important to have sex and intimacy discussions? Now, building intimacy and trust will come from that discussion. Honest conversations that leave both people feeling vulnerable strengthens the emotional bonds. If we can talk about it and I trust what you're saying and you trust what I'm saying, then we are going to be vulnerable to each other and we emotionally will be quite close. Now, understanding each other's desires can lead to a more fulfilling sex life. Many times you don't know what my desire is because I don't talk about it. I don't know what your desires are because we don't talk about it. All I tell you is stand this way, let's do it, like move here, do this. Now, these are things that cause a lot of problems and a lot of trauma. Now, preventing resentment. Now, resentment I would say is feeling like you are being treated unfairly. So in order to prevent resentment and to avoid this dissatisfaction and frustration, we need to start preparing, or we need to start having some conversations. And preparing to have this conversation is very, very important. So before bringing this up, take some time to reflect on your own needs and expectations. If you have to have a discussion as a couple, if we have to sit down and talk about sex, before I come to you, let me sit down, let me call myself for a meeting. So you're supposed to take some time on yourself, reflect on your own needs and expectations, so that by the time we sit down and talk, at least you have an idea of what your needs are. you have an idea of what your expectations are. Now, before we get to this, or before we sit down to discuss it, ask yourself some questions. What are my current sexual needs and what are my sexual boundaries? Are there specific issues or concerns I want to address when I sit down with my wife, when I sit down with my husband? How do I want my partner to respond when we start talking? What outcome am I hoping for? What am I expecting when we sit down to discuss? Am I open to hearing about my partner's needs? And am I ready to adjust accordingly? And these are very important things. If you are open enough to listen without crushing, sometimes we crush each other. You start talking and I tell you, let me tell you. You are supposed to sit down and listen. There's something that I call silence. Not that you're not going to talk, but give each other time. Give somebody time to talk about what they want and what they feel. Once you have personal clarity, you'll be better prepared to have a constructive conversation with each other. Now, in order to have a healthy sex conversation, number one, let us choose the right time. Choosing the right time. So, don't just decide, okay, this is the time I want us to talk about sex. Choose the right time. And this is another important thing. You don't just start talking about sex anytime, anywhere. Choose the right setting. Is this a good place for us to talk about sex? Are the children listening to us? Are we trying to hide from somebody else who might sneak on us? Choose the right environment. Because sometimes you are trying to talk and then when we are talking is when the caregiver is supposed to be coming in. And this is a place where even the neighbors can hear what is going on. Some people live in very close places where other people can hear what you say in your house or in your room. The environment can impact the success of this conversation. Remember to choose a relaxed, private setting. And when I'm talking about privacy, many times you feel very uncomfortable if you think that even my wife's phone is on. Even when I think that that child that we thought was sleeping is listening, we can never be able to talk. A comfortable space free from distractions encourages openness with each other. Now, avoid bringing it up during or immediately after sex. We have just finished and you are like, now, do you know what you did to me? Do you know I'm feeling pain now? Don't be doing that. And you have just finished. Or just before you start, I have always told you not to go that direction. Now you're going, no. That distracts a lot of your sex and that will affect a lot of your things. And I remember one time somebody was having, a man has had some issues with him, in his life. And he was talking to somebody else and they had a lot of crash, a lot of disagreement. And then when he came home, they started having sex with the wife. And before he knew it, he went off. He didn't even complete what they were supposed to do. And that was not funny. So the following day, now he doesn't have those issues. And he tells the wife, I think, we can have it now. And they go and start. But before they started, the wife said, are you going to make it today or you're going to waste my time the way you did yesterday? We had just started doing it. And then you just went off, dude. Guess what? He went off again. So it is very, very important to choose when and where you want to have a conversation about sex. Some of these things affect you so much and become so painful that it can affect your sexual life. Now, starting a conversation just after having sex again can make the conversation seem like a critic rather than an open dialogue. Is that the way you'll be doing it? Is that the way you want me to be doing it? So let it not be immediate after that. Organize a time, a good time to talk about it. Then I said avoid being heard by anybody else. Not just when you're talking, even when you're having sex. Please avoid anybody hearing you. And very fast, I'll tell you maybe very short stories. Reverend, I think I still have time, right? Let me give you very short stories. Now, James comes and he has a house, and it's only one room. We used to call it 10 by 10, and he has 4 kids. So he only has one bed, and he's in bed with his wife and the smallest baby, who is like 6 months. The other 3 kids are on the floor somewhere. He has put a mattress down there, and all he has put between themselves is a curtain. And they start having sex, but they forget that the baby was supposed to be next to the wall. But because of the way they started it, they forgot where the baby is. So they start doing it, and the baby falls. The baby fell on the mattress where the other kids are, and the baby starts crying. And he screams, and they wake up. Oh, sorry. They get hold of the baby, and they start, taking care of the baby, and the baby calms down. And this time they decide, you know what? We are going to put this baby next to the wall. We don't want this to happen again. And it's true. And it's like at midnight, and they start their game. And when they're halfway, one of the boys who was laying on the floor said, Hey, Chico, please hold yourself. They have started again. Excuse me. Will you be able to continue from there? So it's very important to even choose where you do it. I remember another one was a man. He was living in the town, and then the dad comes, and he's with his wife in the house. Their dad comes, and they put him in the next room, but this house did not have a ceiling. So the dad is now asleep, and they start doing the game. And you know the way sometimes you get so excited. And this girl got so excited, and she's telling the husband, if you come out, I'm going to die. If you continue doing that, I'm going to poop in bed. Oh my God. And she kept on saying that, and the dad heard it. And he listened, and he was like, this is not a normal situation. So he woke up slowly, and he called this man. He said, Mwangi, please don't come out. If you come out, she dies. We will be taken to jail. But if you continue, maybe if she poops, we can always clean the bed. Oh my God. That was the end of it. They could not even continue at all. Now, I'm giving you episodes that make sexual life very traumatic. This trauma can affect your sexual life for a long time. Sometimes all you need to do is remember what your dad said, and you go off. And this has happened in many places. There are some episodes. Even your mother comes and he is visiting. Your mother comes and she's visiting, and you put her in a certain room. And just when you think she's asleep, you start doing your stuff. And mom now remembers to ask you something and says, "Hey, Jackson, have you seen so and so? I've not talked to her for a long time." She's on the other side, and you're here doing something with your wife. And your wife tells you, "Please, when you're done with your mom, I'll come back." So let us choose the environments, not just for discussion, but also for doing what we do. We need to be in a very secure place. Now, while we're having sex discussion. Now let's go back to discussion. I was just talking about the traumatic episodes that affect your relationship, that affect your conversations. You can't even be able to talk. Now, while you're having a sex discussion as a couple, use positive and reassuring body language. Your face means a lot to me when you're talking to me. And don't look like you're annoyed with me, like you're so angry with me. Please be somebody who is calm, be somebody who is positive, maintain an eye contact, keep your tone warm. We are not shouting, we are not fighting, we are just talking about something we enjoy. So be calm and avoid being defensive. If I tell you that you went right instead of left, just say, yes, I know I did it. And be sorry for doing what the other person did not want. So, how do you start this conversation? Start by initiating the conversation in a non threatening way. Keep your voice light, use positive language, and take the approach of working together as a team to find solutions. It's not about my need, it's about our need. So even if you are counseling people, even if you're talking to people, let them know that it's about the need of both of us. And the way we start a conversation, the best way to start a conversation is to start by appreciating one another. Start by saying, I really love the way you smile. I love the way you started. You are so calm, and I like the way you touch me. You don't even actually hurt me. So I really love the way something positive. I love the connection we have together. I want us to keep deepening our intimacy. I want you to keep kissing me the way you do it before we start. You actually make me rise up so fast. I don't even know who taught you how to kiss. Something like that. You can use I statements to avoid blaming another person. Talk about yourself. Talk about how you feel. Avoid telling them, oh, you do this, you do that. You can avoid that to begin with. And let them know that you love sharing that sexual intimacy with them. I feel like we haven't talked much about our sexual fantasies, and I would like to explore them together. I would like us to, what are our fantasies? How far do you feel? How far do you think I should go down there? Do you feel like you enjoy it when I do this? Ask open ended questions. Encourage a conversation rather than just demands. Because when you have a conversation and start, stating your demands, me, I want this, and I don't want to hear you doing this. You have to stop this. Those are demands. Just have open-ended questions. How would you feel if we started doing style A? How would you feel if we did style B? Sometimes I feel like that. Is there anything you have been wanting to try and we haven't tried it or we haven't talked about it? Is there something new you think we can do? Now, once the conversation is flowing, try to keep it productive. Don't start saying, I don't want to hear that. That's the wrong word. I don't want even. No, that is not for me. Please stop that kind of a language. And that really enhances the conversation, and it also brings you closer to each other, and you feel so trusted, and you also trust the other person, and you can continue having a very good conversation. These conversations are very, very important. Many times couples don't even talk about anything about sex. They don't even mention it. It's only when they're doing it, they're like, now it's been 1 week. What's been happening? You don't want to do it anymore? Or do you have somebody else who is really giving you this because you don't even care. That is something that messes up with your relationship. So have a conversation that is very calm, a conversation that is very isolated, a conversation that you can enjoy as a couple. Now, finally, as I finish, I want to say that there are some conversations that we try and they don't work, or there are some issues that we cannot be able to discuss as a couple. Now, I want to tell you that therapy is very, very important when it comes to that. If you can get a professional therapist, there are several things that are very important that a professional therapist will do to couples when their conversations are not merging. And I want to say that opening a dialogue in a safe therapeutic setting helps individuals and couples overcome some embarrassment, some shame, or fear that is associated with discussing sexual matters. If you are considering having this type of a conversation, seek guidance from a qualified professional, such as a licensed sex therapist or couples counselor. There are quite many. Somebody who has some expertise in sexual health. This is a very valuable step because once your conversation is not going on, there are so many things that get affected. And the longer you stay without talking about this sex, the worse it becomes. So, therapists can help you uncover some underlying issues that you cannot even tell your husband or your wife. Some stress, some past trauma, which you have never even talked about. I know there's some people who have even had sexual traumas that you cannot tell your husband. Some things that you cannot communicate with anybody. There's even somebody who's been raped before, but she cannot let the husband know. And this is a trauma, and it has affected their sexual life. So if you went to a professional therapist, this is something that they can deal with. This helps to identify the root causes of the problems you're going through. Openness. Now, it's also very important if you hear something that happened to your, to your wife or to your husband, if it's past and you are not together that time, it does not have to affect you. All you need to do is be calm and listen to what happened, and let's see how we can solve it. The process also teaches partners how to communicate their needs, their desires, and boundaries respectively and effectively, strengthening the overall relationship dynamics, and this will help to improve the communication. Once you go to this therapist and they teach you how to communicate, because some of us don't know how to communicate. We think we know, but seriously, we don't know how to communicate. All we know is our needs. So sometimes you need a therapist who will help you to do that. And we also need a therapist to help us to get some education. There are some education and tools that we don't have because we do not talk to anybody else about sex. And especially when you're talking about education, when I'm talking about education, I'm talking about something like sexual health, sexual functions, practical exercises. And some of these practices actually harm our bodies. So nobody has ever talked to you about sexuality. And here all you know is you can do this from this side, you can do this from, there are some things that we are not supposed to do, but you need somebody, a therapist, to tell you this is the wrong thing. You want to use your tongue to do this behind here. This can harm your health. So you need somebody who can teach you these things, because I might be doing it with you as a couple, but you don't like it because there's something you know which is wrong, but you don't want to tell me. So successfully navigating these difficult conversations can lead to deeper emotional and physical intimacy, bringing partners closer together, which can create a great connection. Just being successfully able to navigate these difficult things that we always have. And there's no couple that is made of angels. We always have our own problems. You are not an angel, I'm not an angel. So let us learn to listen to each other and let us be people that are open to discussion. Thank you so much. I think I'm done.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Heme, or G. Easier. We are going to ask our able moderator, engineer, Fundi wa Mitambo, if he takes us off YouTube in case an individual wants to ask even a personal question. I'm just going to end with a comment. I hope you don't know who I'm going to talk to. But then this is a friend of mine that is celebrating 50 years of marriage. And I've seen couples do this. When you get married, the minister will ask you, do you take, well, Dr. Jeroga is here, do you take Wambui? There was no reverend. Do you take Wambui as your legal wedded wife? What do we say? I do. And everybody says, and the guy says the same, and the wife says the same. We don't know what they are doing to. They are saying I do. Do to what? I wish they could enumerate. Like the commercial for USA veterans, where you get wedded, and then they say you are also going to get the insurance for the house. Now, so my couple's card is reading, welcome, Wambui, kind of, to our wedding anniversary, 50th wedding anniversary. I think it's called Jubilee. And at the end, RSVP, and they just put a line that was like, wow, we still do. So we might want to ask personal questions for now. Caveat, I give tips because I have taught sexual education called abstinence, the best choice here in the public school system of Georgia. I think there were 4 schools. Yes, actually we also teach sexuality to 3-year-olds using the 5 senses. So I've done that. However, because of that, one time I decided to test my students, especially high school, because they can speak freely, and they trusted me because I worked in this school public system for 10 years, and one of the years I worked at the outpatient behavioral health clinic. So it's the same population. Now, so I asked the class that I would ask everybody on the platform. Number 1, I said, how many of you, this is high school students, how many of you are sexually active? You have not worked with the young people that are so real to trust you for 10 years, and they raised their hands. Remember, I know them by name. I have the list of my class that takes prevention curriculum. And this is what I told them. For the sake of boundaries, if this question is asked to you next time, please do not answer. You can answer your husband, your wife, your doctor, maybe even immigration attorney, or if you are going through VAWA. These are individuals that do this. They declare and say, I will keep your confidence at all times unless you disclose to me that someone is harming you or you intend to harm somebody else. Do you get the question now? So the second question I asked the students, this helps parents more than anybody. When do you think, and I ask this every year, when do you think our students, we are watching them closely, they get pregnant, especially girls, during holiday time, like Christmas? We will know because the babies will be born. And some of them are very young. The youngest student I've ever heard that had a baby was in middle school. And if you have listened to my song that says, we got to pray just to make it through school, I should have played it for the people here, but that one I do with parenting education. So I asked them, so when are students having sex and babies are going to be conceived during school time? Remember I said in school we watch our students very closely. You know what they said? The parents, they hang the schedule on the refrigerator. I am going to be away from home. That is mom saying, I'm leaving now, it's 8:30 and the bus has already gone. Make sure you do everything, the food is there. I'll be back at 9 or 9:30 or 10 whenever mom comes home. Dad says the same. Hi, one boy. We are going, okay, you're now going to work. Everything is okay. Your car is good. You have the keys to the house to let yourself in. Don't do anything